from a financial partner that will put you first.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Memberzone Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Hello.
Angela, we have to break up.
But why?
Because you're a robot and I'm just a guy trying to get better internet.
It's Aloe Fiber, isn't it? I always knew you wanted faster speeds. My contract isn't good enough for you.
Face it, Angela, they let me talk to real people.
Press 4 to break my heart. Oh wait, you already did.
Visit aloefiber.com to switch today.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just a professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier furry friends.
Liberty Law Group is committed to the defense of your liberty and pursuit of your justice for those that have been injured. My name is Seth Morris, attorney with Liberty Law Group. If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, call 877-42-LIBERTY. Our relentless trial attorneys are committed to the highest quality legal representation. At Liberty Law Group, we will fight for you. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Again, that's 877-42-LIBERTY.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. 93.7 The Ticket is on the road.
That ball is pelted to deep left, and that is way gone for Josh Karen.
Coming at you live from Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Karen drills another ball. That's headed to outer space again.
This is 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hitting the gap, left center field. Kelly cannot get there. Brumbaugh to the plate with the go-ahead run. Gabe Swanson puts the Cornhuskers on top.
Getting you ready for Nebraska Baseball's first regional appearance since 2021. And live from the Garage Burgers and Beer in Stillwater
is Bryce Molinaro, who serves it to left. Swanson is there. The magical ride through the elimination bracket complete. Nebraska, the Big Ten tournament champion for the first time ever.
NCAA baseball coverage is presented by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blur Events.
Once you get to the postseason, it's 5 wins to Omaha. You have 13,000 people here for this game. Imagine what it's like getting Nebraska to this venue for the College World Series. It's 5 wins away.
Here's Nick Sainert and Austin Orman.
That is right. So we are coming to you live from the Garage Burgers and Beer in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Nick Sainert, Austin Norman, and we are getting you ready just under 2 hours away from first pitch from number 2, Nebraska, number 3, the Florida Gators, here in Stillwater, O'Brate Stadium, the site. We're just about 3 blocks away from the stadium. I want to thank our sponsors, Sandhills Global, Mullen Motors, Blur Events, as well as Nebraska Corn Board Members Owned Credit Union, Aloe Fiber, Landmark Implement, and last but certainly not least, Select Plumbing. Austin, we're here. We've been here for less than 24 hours, right? Mm-hmm. But we're here in Stillwater. Foot traffic is incredible. A lot of people already in the spot. we've seen a lot of Husker fans as well.
We absolutely have. I mean, the first couple groups of people that walked in were Husker fans. Then you get some Oklahoma State filing in, some more Oklahoma State filing in, and then another group of Husker fans.
Yep.
And a group of Husker fans right behind them. And a guy in a Salt Dogs jersey.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible stuff going on here down in Stillwater. It's nice being so close to the stadium. You get the foot traffic. Even though the games haven't started yet, Nebraska and Florida are leading us off here in Stillwater. You can just tell that this is a town that knows how to do a baseball regional right. There's a reason that the team's been good enough to host a regional, and I get why the NCAA likes having them as a host. The energy is here. The setup is great, and we're really appreciative of the people at the garage for having us out.
Yeah, it's a great spot. As always, 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, starter Heyman text line open for you guys. Let us know. If you're down in Stillwater, come on by. Say what's up. The food smells delicious. They opened up at 11 a.m. We got here about 11:10, and they already had the grills fired up and going. So the spot is full. Obviously, you might be able to see behind us if you're on the video stream. This place is full. We're going to have a great lineup coming your way over the next 2 hours or so. Austin and I will be here live until about 1:40, and then we got a recorded segment that we did earlier today to really get you ready for the first pitch at 2 p.m. as we walk over to O'Brate Stadium here in Stillwater. So once again, the 464-5685 number still available for you guys as Nebraska ready to get going in their first regional since 2021, and they're facing off against the Florida Gators. We got plenty of stuff coming up. We're going to be joined by a special guest here in less than 30 minutes or so. But before we do, we have to talk about the rest of the country, right? Because some games started at 11 a.m., we had Western Michigan, Kentucky going, Stetson and Florida State, Penn at Virginia, Wofford versus LSU, which is a matchup of two 40-plus win ball clubs, and then Coastal Carolina and Vanderbilt. Some interesting scores here early on.
Including Coastal and Vandy, right? 5-0. Coastal jumps out in front of Vanderbilt. The reason that is significant to Husker fans, if Nebraska makes it out of the regional, they're matched up with the winner of the regional in Clemson, which is where Vandy's the 2, Coastal's the 3. Wofford, top of the 4th, they're up 2-0 on LSU right now in Chapel Hill. Kentucky hit a home run early against Western Michigan. Florida State and Stetson. Stetson has played Florida State, has played Florida. The Noles lead that one 3-1 in the 3rd. And Virginia hit a 3-run home run in the 1st inning over Penn. And just underway in Greenville. No score between East Carolina and Evansville. I'm keeping my eye on that one.
There's a lot of interesting ones that we'll get to throughout the course of the show. There's some intriguing regionals that are loaded, right? We look at like the College Station Regional is loaded. The Tucson Regional
Tallahassee
is deadly. I mean, even the
Tuscaloosa.
one, even the one with Wofford, LSU, North Carolina. North Carolina, we talked about it on the way here, Austin. Feels like they kind of got the short end of a straw where it's, come on now, we have to face the defending national champion as a 3 seed. They are a 3 seed. North Carolina, obviously, in that regional, the host site as the number 1 seed. So if you don't know, if you're just now tuning in, once again, Nick Sainert, Austin Norman from Stillwater here at the garage. If you are down here, address 520 West Elm Avenue. And so we are basically a block away from Boone Pickens. If we walked outside of this door, we could turn to our right and look at the football stadium. And then just on the other side of that is O'Brate Stadium, where the baseball team plays and has been a site for regionals the last couple of years. Oklahoma State has struggled, and I better say this softly as we're surrounded by
I'll turn your mic down real quick.
But Oklahoma State has struggled to get out of the regionals that they've hosted, right? They've also been victims of high-scoring affairs, right, which might play into them and their identity, but it also played into an Arkansas team last year that was able to win here in Bedlam and in Stillwater. So now you look at this year, right? And you have a team like Oklahoma State and Florida that I would compare more significantly, and then Nebraska and Niagara, right? And obviously it's 1-3 and 2-4 there. 1 and 3 seeds, Oklahoma State, Florida, they surely can hit the ball well. Nebraska, Niagara hits it really well just for contact, not as much power. Nebraska really tries to lean on their defense and pitching.
Right. Nebraska is pretty clearly the 4th best offense in this regional, but I think also, the best, if not, 1B pitching staff.
Yeah.
Here, we'll see how it plays up because Florida and Nebraska scored a very similar number of runs this year on a per game basis. But I think you trust Florida's offense in an environment like this. I think it helps Florida because even if they're 132nd in runs scored, they were 7th in home runs hit. Really close to Oklahoma State, who ended up at 15th, just 5 home runs separate those two. So Now, I think if you look at the setup at the regional, you have a pretty well-balanced team in Oklahoma State. It's the reason they're hosting the number 11 overall national seed. Then you get 2 offense-first teams in Florida and in Niagara. And then you get the pitching-dominated team in Nebraska, at least the front-line pitching dominated. I know we'll get into the pitching setup and plenty more on that for Nebraska later. But Nebraska's really the outlier here in this region, which is why I think if you look at the setup, Niagara with a long way to travel, it's probably not the best draw for them, but maybe their offense plays up and they like their chances. I also think Nebraska, in most people's mind, even if they have, the second best power rating, they're the 2 seed. I feel like in most people's minds, Nebraska's the 3rd option to make it out of here. I think you give Oklahoma State the nod. It's either 3rd time's the charm or 3 strikes you're out for them in a row hosting regionals. And Florida's just been here so many times that they're the name brand. I think you give them more benefit of the doubt than you do Nebraska on a national level.
I think you're right on that. And we'll get to plenty more of that as we are having coverage live from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Nick Sainert, Austin Norman with you, 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. Let's talk now before we take a break. Let's talk big picture, okay? Because Will Bolt, obviously we knew it in his first full season, his first season at the helm gets canceled because of COVID. His first full season, second year at Nebraska, they win the regular season Big Ten title. They go down to Fayetteville. They talk about feeling like you get the short end of a stick down in Fayetteville. Feels like you kind of got robbed a little bit, but Nebraska showed up that year. Then you follow up, and it's not like you haven't had talent, just haven't had the trips to the postseason. And so now this year, as Will Bolt's contract is coming to the end, right? You remember that he got extended through the 2025 season after that regular season championship back in 21. Now we are in 2024, and there's not a whole lot of success to show for it. They finally crack through, make it tougher on themselves than it really needed to be by going through the elimination bracket, but nonetheless still win a Big Ten title. But now Will Bolt getting paid $400,000 a year. You look at the other side, and Kevin O'Sullivan is getting paid $1.85 million per season to coach the Florida Gators. This is a big opportunity for Will Bolt to not only cement himself as the Big Ten baseball coach now that Eric Bakich left, now that Minnesota's coach retired, but it's also a chance to put his name firmly in the national scope as well.
It really is, and that's where I think Will Bolt and Nebraska need each other in the worst way. The way that we have to view Nebraska and Will Bolt is on their own terms, right? Yeah. Will Bolt says Nebraska should be hosting regionals. Well, guess what? They haven't done that yet. I know it's only been 5 years, but it's been a long 5 years because of the talent, because of, Nebraska's been in the discussion a couple times in April and then lost some key games in May or not done quite enough to bolster the resume even early in the season, right? With a marquee win or two at these non-conference tournaments or, round robin kind of plays that Nebraska goes to. It would be one thing if Will Bolt came to Nebraska, took over for Darren Erstad and said, hey, Darren left in a good place. I'm appreciative of taking over for another alum, but I don't know who Nebraska is in the Big Ten. We still have to build that identity. Yeah. Well, Will Bolt has told you that the identity of this Nebraska team is gritty, not pretty, of this program, right? That's what he wants, but we don't always see this, especially last year, right? Last year was a pretty year. You think of the 2 frontline starting pitchers you had in Emmett Olson and Jace Kaminska, a couple studs. And then in the lineup side, a lot of long balls, school record number of home runs hit last year, right? That's pretty. That's not necessarily great. And I think it's why the record ended up the way it did. It's great that Nebraska's made 2 regionals, right? In 4 full seasons under Will Bolt. Okay, 50% of the time, that's okay. You'd like to think that number is up to, close to 75, 80% here in the long run. But if Will Bolt wants it to be not just about making regionals, but hosting regionals, Nebraska's nowhere close. And Will Bolt's not going to be taken as seriously nationally unless Nebraska makes some noise. If they pop up and they host one year, if they spring up as a 2 seed and win a regional that they're not expected to, Nebraska needs Will Bolt to be the guy to put them over the hump. And Will Bolt can't think about anything else except Nebraska right now.
And that's what I think is maybe frustrating in the minds of Husker fans. And obviously it gets covered up and clouded because you just won the Big Ten title. And this conversation is not to take away from Nebraska and their Big Ten championship that they were able to capture last weekend. But in reality, you have before the 2021 season, Will Bolt talking about, hey, listen, like this is we need to elevate this program. As you mentioned, Austin, host a regional, right? Because Will Bolt's also seen the SEC side of it, right? From his time at A&M. And so when you look at that opportunity that Will Bolt welcomed,
Yeah.
He brought it up. He was never asked about it until he brought it up on his own accord. And he talks about hosting a regional. That's the next step for Nebraska. Then you talk about all the stuff and investments that can be made because you host a regional. And the trickle-down effect, not only in the recruiting game, but also in the let's update facilities. Let's look at Haymarket Park. Let's look at schedules. Because in a conference like the Big Ten, as we know, Nebraska's had to load up the front half of their schedule. They did it this year, and they had a really nice performance in it in the non-con slate. But, man, it makes it, if you can not only compete, but also maybe win some, it makes it easier to say, hey, Oregon State, let's get a 3-game series together. It's not just these tournaments that you're playing Texas Tech one time or you're only playing Oklahoma one time. You're talking about weekend series where Nebraska can go on the road and take 2 of 3. To do that, though, you need to win in the postseason. And that's why I think this weekend is so crucial for Will Bolt.
Right. It needs to happen eventually. Nebraska needs to take that step at some point. But again, going back to that identity, you don't really know what Nebraska is. Is Nebraska built for regular seasons where they're going to be like Rutgers a couple of years ago? You can bank on 35 wins, 40 most years, and sometimes 44, depending on the non-conference schedule. Or is Nebraska going to be built for the postseason play where they're going to schedule tough? They know that they're a big enough name that people are interested in playing them, but not so big that teams won't schedule them because they're threatened by Nebraska coming out there, right? Nebraska's in a weird middle ground where if Nebraska was built for the regular season, getting all these wins, you set up the non-con kind of like this, but then you have to figure out how to sweep weekends in the Big Ten. And then maybe, you win the regular season title and you get some kudos, but maybe you don't have the pitching depth, or maybe just have 1 or 2 guys in the lineup that have carried you through the regular season, so you fizzle out in tournaments. Or vice versa. Maybe you schedule really tough in the non-con, maybe steal only a game or 2, the record's not quite as good, you go on the road, you travel, and then you come back in the Big Ten. You have to finish top 4 every year in the Big Ten if you're Nebraska. That's the bare minimum. And then you go and you're set up perfectly for the tournament. You know how your rotation's going to set up. You know who your bullpen guys are on a year-to-year basis. And even if your regular season record is a little bit, underwhelming, you still make a regional based on strength of schedule, based on RPI, and you're a pain in the butt to get out of a regional, right? Nick, looking at Nebraska's regional history, more often than not, they haven't been a pain. They haven't threatened the top seeds, right? Yeah, there have been some heartbreak moments, right? You think back to the last time Nebraska came down to this very regional, with everything that happened. But so often, Nebraska is beating the teams it should and not threatening at the higher level. If Nebraska had an identity of we are going to build ourselves for regional play, for the postseason, that's at least a direction to go. Measure yourselves against that standard. But that's where Nebraska can't play SEC baseball against Florida. Nebraska has to play its own game. But Nebraska, there's no reason it can't have SEC level investment.
There you go.
Right? Nebraska is in the bottom 25% in terms of raw dollars spent among, the power conference NCAA tournament teams this year. I get it. Football's the driver. Volleyball's probably second. And you like what you have cooking with men's basketball and Fred Hoiberg. But there's no reason for Nebraska not to be in the top 4 every year, to invest in facilities, to invest in players. Because then once you have SEC-style investment in making baseball a priority, results are likely to follow.
That's what's so interesting also, just with Nebraska's in a very opportune spot with being in the Big Ten Conference, because they have been, and while those numbers are still somewhat alarming and jarring, that Nebraska is one of the higher schools in attendance, but also lowest in investment dollars. It's fascinating because Nebraska's been in this position to where they have the investment from the fan base and they have an opportunity to frankly be the North Star of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Like they truly do. And they have missed out on that. I think that was what was so unfortunate in the minds of Husker fans, was that after what I would call and label a successful season, understanding the regional that you went down to in 2021 in Fayetteville, and after a COVID pandemic season.
Well, think about this.
To not be able to follow that up was not necessarily a step back, but it certainly wasn't a step forward. It just felt like Nebraska was treading water.
And the bigger point I want to make with that is that Eric Bakich left Michigan after 2021. He's been at Clemson for 3 years now. Nebraska coming off that regional appearance in Fayetteville in 2021. So there was the power vacuum. There was a void. Nebraska had to be ready to step into it, to take advantage, say, this is our conference. And I get it. That was full year 2, year 3 of Will Bolt. He's still a young head coach. Coaching in the JUCO ranks is not the same as coaching at Nebraska, but it kind of feels like Nebraska missed an opportunity. Now, the saving grace is that Nebraska's in the Big Ten. It's still up for grabs. There's still that power vacuum. Seize that opportunity sooner than later. Get the program going sooner than later. And what better time to start it than now? In old Big 12 country, a place where you're familiar enough, and maybe the two best pitchers in the regional most likely go in the first 2 days for you.
Well, and we even had a gentleman, I mean, Austin, this is the perfect segue. We even had a gentleman, as soon as we got here, within the first 5 minutes, come up to us, ask us where we were from. And he said, man, I wish Nebraska was still in the Big Ten. I'm glad you guys are back, or Big 12, excuse me. I'm glad you guys are back. Welcome back. I think there's a lot of people that miss Nebraska in the Big 12 conference, but nonetheless, we always talk about, all right, what's the opportunity ahead for Nebraska? We've talked a lot about what's happened, what happened in 2021, 2022, and 23. But now let's look ahead, right? Nebraska is in the Big 10 conference, and we have this conversation about potential in a regional, and we get texts on the text line, or people ask us or tweet it out, or whatever the case may be. Don't forget Michigan. Michigan did it. They made a College World Series run from the Big Ten Conference. I think that's our point exactly. And you brought up Eric Bakich, the former Michigan skipper, and like that's what the point we're making is. There's no reason Nebraska can't be that.
It's why not us?
There you go. There you go.
That's the entire point. Is that Michigan doesn't have as much baseball history and tradition as Nebraska. Maybe they lucked their way into a run, but I think Eric Bakich managed his way into a run. Right, he got his team hot at the right time. That Michigan team was just a couple outs away from, playing for a national title.
That's right.
And winning it potentially. So, especially with him gone, there's an opportunity in front of Nebraska. Maybe being in the Big 12 would be better for Nebraska baseball because it's more competitive, because everyone invests at a higher level, and because there's more of a standard to measure yourself against on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if I'm viewing this program, I want Will Bull, Rob Childress, the entire coaching staff, Coach Arvell, who joined us early in the year, Coach Sirianni, who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, but sounds like he's a young rising coach in the business. Those guys, with the help of Troy Dannon and other administrators, need to view the Big Ten as an opportunity, right? Don't allow the Big Ten to drag you down. Be the team that sets the standard for the rest of the league and helps raise the rest of the boat.
Well, and frankly, it's that conversation of we're going to do things with a standard to excel, the expectation to excel. And if you don't want to rise to our occasion, Michigan State or Rutgers or Iowa or whoever else in the Big Ten Conference, okay, fine. We'll run away with this thing. And Nebraska, let me tell you, I'm sure nobody would have an issue with consecutive Big Ten titles. Consecutive trips to regionals. Nobody has issues with that. Now we're talking like in the future as well. Next year's big for Nebraska, right? They're going to be losing a couple of pieces. That those conversations are for another time. Today it's time we talk about Stillwater, but it's once again the opportunity. But whether you're in Stillwater or wherever you're at in a regional, to be able to play on a national stage. And as a fairly higher seed, you're a number 2 seed. You are seeded higher than an SEC program. There is no reason that you should not compete at the highest level or be ready to go, right? Be ready to go, show up, play some baseball later on this afternoon. We got a lot of stuff to get to. When we come back, we're going to be joined by former Husker Charlie Cologne, as Charlie passed us on the interstate yesterday.
And then we passed him, and then he passed us again.
Then we passed him, and we were going back and forth. And then we finally got in touch on the phone, and I was just like, come on down to the garage. They're here. Whole family's here. They're getting ready to watch the Huskers in about an hour and a half from first pitch here in Stillwater. We'll talk to Charlie when we come back. Also coming up later in the broadcast, we got talk about some other regionals that are around the country in addition to the Stillwater one. There's also, obviously a big crowd expected at O'Brate today. Well, there's a lot of, you have the name recognition of Oklahoma State. You have the postseason veteran and CWS staple, I suppose, in Florida. Then you have a conference champion in Nebraska. And then obviously Niagara. There's going to be a lot of eyes on Stillwater, which once again plays into that conversation about opportunity. And then in the 1 o'clock hour, we do a deep dive on the Florida Gators, tell you about the starting pitcher, tell you about the lineup outside of Jack Caglianone. We'll do all that when we come back. We're live from the Garage Burgers and Beer down here in Stillwater. If you are down here, come on down. We're just 3 blocks away from O'Brate Stadium with the Boone Pickens football stadium just separating the 2 spots here. The food smells great. The place is packed. Folks are waiting in line. It's going to be a really good afternoon of baseball. Some updated scores from around the country. Kentucky has a handle on Western Michigan 7-0 in the 4th inning. Florida State still leads 3-1 over Stetson. In the bottom of the 5th, a matchup of 2 40-win ball clubs. Wofford is on top of LSU. Wofford is the 2 seed in that regional in Chapel Hill. They lead the 3 seed and defending champion LSU Tigers 2-0. Grambling is at Texas A&M in that loaded College Station regional, and Coastal Carolina 5-0 lead on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Obviously, head coach Tim Corbin, no stranger to the postseason there.
The other one that stands out to me, Nick, is Army on top of Georgia. Charlie Condon might be going 1-1. The Charlie Condon story rings so similarly to the Stetson Bennett story in a lot of ways. Georgia was in that conversation for being a top 8 seed, ultimately fell back to number 10. But Army, is a team that's been around the postseason so long out of that Patriot League. I'm keeping eyes on that one.
There's one other Big Ten team playing currently. That's the Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana stole a bid from a couple programs over this last week after their play in the Big Ten Conference Tournament. They are a 3 seed in the number 1 overall seeds Tennessee Volunteers Regional. Indiana leads 2 seed Southern Miss 2-0 in the top of the 2nd inning, so plenty early in that one. But we're getting ready for Nebraska and Florida, just a little bit over or under an hour. Yes, over an hour and a half away from first pitch here in Stillwater. When we come back, we bring in Charlie Cologne, former Husker baseball catcher, when we come back. You're listening to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of the regional tournament on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You already know that Select Plumbing takes care of all your plumbing needs, including water heaters, faucet repairs, leaks, drips, sump pumps, and more. Now, they're able to help you with your heating and air conditioning as well. Select Plumbing has recently expanded into residential heating and air, and they're excited to bring this new service to their complete list of plumbing services. Call to book an appointment today at 402-560-6197 or go to selectplumbinginc.com. Serving Lincoln, Seward, Milford, and the surrounding areas.
Dell and Ed present A Kernel of Truth.
That's Ed's new drone. Why do a couple of Nebraska corn farmers need a drone? 2 words: multispectral imaging. Drones help us farm more efficiently and protect planet Earth. Yep, Ed's a pretty good pilot. When he doesn't hit the broadside of a barn, that is. Nebraska corn. It's the plant that can change the planet.
Visit nebraskacorn.gov to learn more.
It's the best time of the year to order a new John Deere sprayer during Landmark Implement's Fast Start Early Order program. Leverage the industry's latest technology with See and Spray to target weeds in season in corn and soybeans and use less herbicide per acre. Utilize Exact Apply to save in chemical usage and prevent over-application. Now is the time to lock in the best price of the year during Landmark Implement's Fast Start Early Order program. Contact your local Landmark location for full details and experience the Landmark difference.
Here you go. Coffee's on me and my new BFF.
I thought I was your best friend forever.
BFF like best financial friend at Members Owned Credit Union. Right now, they're offering $100 when you consolidate or transfer a loan or an existing credit card balance and meet requirements. Plus, you get great rates and free advice from a financial partner that will put you first.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Members Owned Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
For the second year, the Nebraska Lottery's NASCAR Powerball Playoff promotion has roared into our state, and the excitement is throttling up. Until June 24th, buy a Powerball ticket with Power Play and Double Play. Enter the voucher number, and you could be one of 15 Nebraska winners of $1,000 and the chance to win a VIP trip to the NASCAR Cup Series Championship weekend, plus a shot at $1 million. Enter today. Powerball top prize odds 1 in 292 million.
Hello.
Angela, we have to break up.
But why?
Because you're a robot and I'm just a guy trying to get better internet.
It's Allo Fiber, isn't it? I always knew you wanted faster speeds. My contract isn't good enough for you.
Face it, Angela, they let me talk to real people.
Press 4 to break my heart. Oh wait, you already did.
Visit allofiber.com to switch today.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring your friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax in the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month.
Hurry, this deal ends soon.
See Home Club for details.
Hey guys, it's Nick. 93.7 The Ticket is excited to be broadcasting this weekend from Stillwater, Oklahoma, as the Big Ten champion Nebraska baseball team appears in their first regional since 2021. From Friday through Monday, Austin and I will have pregame shows, postgame reactions, interviews, and other thoughts from Stillwater as the Huskers begin their road to Omaha. If you're making the trip down there, make sure you join Austin and I on Friday from 12 to 2 from the Garage Burgers and Beer in Stillwater, located just 3 blocks away from O'Brate Stadium. Regional coverage is presented by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blur Events. It's NCAA baseball tournament coverage live from Stillwater, Oklahoma, this Friday through Monday on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh yeah, this is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Soulful Casino in Havelock is a family-owned business, providing incredible food and service that'll have you craving more with every bite. Soulful Casino offers everything from pulled pork to fried chicken, catfish, ribs, and even quesadillas. You want sides? They've got them. From fries, green beans and baked beans, to collard greens, potato salad, and sweet dill corn. Stop by for lunch as they have specials Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 2 p.m. That's Soulful Casino, located in Havelock, where every bite you take fills the soul. At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just a professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier furry friends.
Play ball! Ready to unleash the fun with Salt Dogs Baseball? Join us at Haymarket Park for 50 action-packed games running through August. Stay ahead of the game by visiting saltdogs.com for updates on exciting promotions, giveaways, and events happening each week. Experience a change-up from your typical family night, or make it a Grand Slam good time with friends and coworkers. Strike three, you're out! Don't miss the fun happening all summer long. Visit saltdogs.com to get your tickets and unleash the fun.
Back to 93.7 The Ticket special presentation from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Brought to you by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blur Events. With Nick Sainert and Austin Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into the garage in Stillwater, just a couple blocks away from O'Brate Stadium, getting you ready for Nebraska and Florida here coming up at 2 p.m. Central Time. If you want to watch the game, if you're not down here, didn't decide to make the road trip, then you can watch it on ESPN+. If you did come down to Stillwater, why aren't you here? Why are you not here? As this place is packed, and I'm excited to be joined by a good friend, Charlie Cologne, former Husker, obviously owner of Chick-fil-A, but we're going to talk Husker baseball. Charlie, first of all, welcome to Stillwater.
Thank you. So good to be here and so amazing to see the amount of Husker fans.
There's a lot. We walked in at 11:15 this morning into this place, and the first 2 or 3 groups that we saw were Husker fans.
Yeah.
I've seen 2 Florida people. So maybe they just don't know where the party's at, or maybe that's a pretty far jaunt.
It is. It's a trek.
You have, obviously, Oklahoma State at home. Nebraska, pretty manageable drive because we drove at the same time. And then you have Florida, pretty long excursion. And then Lewiston, New York necessarily isn't driving distance for Niagara.
Not at all. No, it's the same way for us, you guys. We got up this morning, Husker fans in our hotel, went to breakfast, Husker fans, saw some people from Lincoln, saw some people from Omaha, came here, place is loaded with Husker fans. Love it.
Okay, so let's talk about just last week, right? Because from your perspective as a former player and seeing how they come out on Tuesday, unfortunate turn of events where they fall 15-2, and there was some criticism. I was open and public about my criticism as well and just concerns, but then they do it the hard way and they come all the way back. How does that happen? How, as a collegiate baseball player, how does that happen? Is that a mindset switch?
So it's an awesome question. I don't think resilience happens day to day. I think it's culture, and I think it's what's happened over the course of the season.
Yeah.
So especially in a Big Ten tournament, tons of pressure, big spotlight. You're playing at home. You get dumped. It's one of those days. It just is one of those days. But the ability to fight the next day, right? We got punched, we punch back. So you win the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and get to the championship. And you knew when we got to Sunday, it was a good shot.
Yeah.
The thing that I think has been the catalyst, everybody talks about pitching. I think it's been our defense. You can talk about Swanson. You can talk about Josh Caron. You can talk about all the guys that stepped up over the course of the last 5 games. But you guys, you take a look at our defense. Overbeek at third. Dylan Carey's play in the 9th inning, midway into center field, running away from the infield to catch a very difficult ball when Riley Silva was playing deep. That might, 20 years from now, we may look back and go, that might have been the play of the game.
It's crazy because we were talking off air about just the differences in styles of the teams here in this regional, and mostly Nebraska, Florida. You mentioned the 116 home runs. They have 7 guys with double-digit home runs on the season. Nebraska's leading home run hitter after last weekend is Josh Caron with 16. And to just put that into perspective, Caglianone has 29.
Yeah,
it's fascinating when you look at Jack Caglianone as a side note. 29 home runs, 21 strikeouts,
Amazing.
8 more home runs than strikeouts. It's just incredible, and it's a great accomplishment. But I would almost say that Nebraska's style of play is more sustainable.
I agree.
The defense that you mentioned, the ability to wreak havoc on base paths is such an underappreciated piece of baseball.
Agree.
And so when you look at like Nebraska's opportunity that lies ahead of them today, if Brett Sears can go out and allow his defense to work, and yes, it's a hitter-friendly ballpark, but if Brett Sears is able to go out, allow his defense to work, and you know that as a catcher, just allow him to put balls in play at some point, and you have 8 guys behind you or 7 guys behind you that are ready to go, make plays, avoid errors, limit the free passes, and then do your job and manufacture runs in whatever way you necessary on offense, you're going to be on the right side of it most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the difference in styles of play is substantial, right? You've got Florida that's got 7 guys at BOP. You've got Nebraska that's got 1, maybe 2. Now, great, you can throw Ben Columbus in there. You can throw Overbeek in there. Overbeek hasn't been healthy the whole year, and he can definitely swing it. But the ability to put the ball in play consistently and play small ball, right? So they've got 31 stolen bases on the year. We've got 91 stolen bases. Yeah. So the ability to create pressure on the defense, and I love Will's philosophy, right? If you look at it, it doesn't matter if you're hitting 1st, 9th, or 4th. You may need to bunt at some point in time to move guys over.
Their ability to also incorporate hit and runs, and also on the flip side, run and hits, right? Where it's what's the main focus, what's the end goal of this, puts pressure on a team like Florida where they don't have necessarily the most stable guys on the mound.
Yeah,
they're going to face a guy in Liam Peterson and I've said this statistic before, but there's only been one game where he's walked fewer than 2 guys, and that was in a 2-inning outing against Texas A&M, a game where they lost 10-6 because there were 6 earned runs given up in those first 2 innings by Liam Peterson. He's a 6'5" freshman out of the state of Florida. Was a top 100 guy in an MLB draft last year. Will Bolt talked about it. Has been better as of late, but certainly has not been to anywhere near the effectiveness of Brett Sears and or Mason McConaughey. So once again, it's Nebraska has everything they want in front of them. You talk about the approach at the plate also, and Will Bolt said it yesterday after they practiced, that one of the most important pieces of today's game is Nebraska's ability to swing at the correct pitches, at the right pitches. Lay off the stuff outside of the zone, force Liam Peterson to throw you something in the zone, and if not, then take your free pass, because on the flip side of you limiting those free passes, if you're able to draw them, then you cause the stolen base havoc. Then you cause the run and hits, the hits and runs. You bunt guys over, you manufacture runs, and Florida has to play Nebraska's ball game, and that's how Nebraska wins.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you talk about freshman versus senior on the mound, so that's another X factor, right? Yeah. I know it's a big stage. I know we're 55, 58 games into the season, but it's still an X factor, right? We've seen that with some of our young guys that have gone out and thrown earlier in the year, throughout the course of the year. Yeah. I think the ability for us to let the game come to us, take the walks, take pitches, stretch counts, build pitch counts.
Yeah.
Right? Let's stretch the game. Let's slow this thing down. Let's see if we can get this guy 55, 60 pitches into the 3rd inning.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can create some of their own pressure on them by letting walks show up. Take walks and let's swing at strikes and be aggressive in hitter counts, 3-1s, 2-1s, 2-0s, etc.
And a lot of that's just approach and mentality.
100%.
It's got to be the approach and the mentality when you step up to the plate. And 1 through 9, right? Because one of the unsung heroes of this team has been Rhett Stokes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been, he obviously at the start of the year, Caden Brumbaugh, the former Cowboy, the former Oklahoma State guy, he was kind of fighting for time at second or at the infield spots, and at that leadoff position gets banged up. And now he makes plays on the base paths. He did it in the Big Ten title game and got into scoring position with the stolen bag. But Rhett Stokes hitting out of the 9-hole has been one of the unsung heroes. He doesn't hit for power, but he just kind of does his job. You don't really talk about him a whole lot. And I would almost compare it to like the center on a football team. If you're not talking about him, he's doing a good job. And that's what Rhett Stokes has done so far.
100%. And he's hitting 355.
That certainly helps.
So he's a guy that just squares balls up. He's a singles, doubles guy. The other thing I think is go back to the defense for a quick minute. The center of our defense, where you got to be strong up the middle.
Yeah.
Right? You've got Stokes or Brumbaugh. You got Carey. You've got Karen. And you've got Riley.
Yeah.
Like that core of who we are. The play that Overbeek, by the way, made it 3rd the other day, absolute rocket jet that he plays off his chest. All of those little things are going to make a difference. So I'm a defense guy. The other thing that I think is a game changer for us is we have so many dudes out of the pen.
Yeah.
We can match right, left. I have never seen this many guys out of the bullpen throwing absolute BBs like what we have. So Jalen Wordley, Kyle Fralick, like you can just run down the list of guys that we can roll in to match who they bring in or in the moment. It's a big X factor.
That's what a fascinating angle, because Austin and I were having conversations this morning about this is where Will Bolt gets and every coach term manager. It's the strategy. How do you play and decipher the difference and manage the balance of analytics and data or feel of the game?
Totally.
And that is where Will Bolt in his second regional with Nebraska has to make these hard decisions. Nebraska was very fortunate last weekend, and this was a luxury for them, that guys pitched well. You had guys step up. Will Walsh goes a complete game. Jackson Brockett goes to 8 innings. Drew Christo was dominant on the mound for 5 innings. You had guys step up. They're going to need that this week. And now it's, okay, now let's get more guys to step up, right? Let's get the Kyle Fralics to come in and just shove. And let's see Jalen Worthley, again, consistently over these last couple of weeks, continue to build off of the momentum that you got last week.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing, too, that I think is a net benefit for us is that we don't have just one closer.
Yeah.
So did I love Tom Ott back in the day? Love Tom Ott. Mm-hmm. Tom Ott came into the game over.
Yeah.
But we have pitched by committee for 57 games to bring guys in situations. Casey Dice, Freilich, run down the list. Kyle
Timmerman.
Perry, Timmerman, doesn't matter. Bring them all in, right? The thing that I think has been interesting to watch play out, Mason McConaughey. Had 11 strikeouts in the Big Ten tournament. 8 of them were on changeups. That is 100% Rob Childress, right? The ability to call pitches in the moment, the ability to grow these guys over the course of a year, to create confidence in any pitch, in any situation, in any count. I think sets us up well for today. You hit the nail on the head, though. We have to play defense and we have to throw strikes in order to stay in a game and be wildly competitive. But the fact that we have played so many close games and won recently, take the midweek stuff away. Just take those out of the equation. Let's just focus on the recent past, which is the last 5 games. The things that we have done well there are pitch well, play defense well, timely hitting. Can we expect Josh Caron to hit 6 more bombs this weekend? Probably not. But you know what? He's got it in him, so he might do it. But we can expect Ben Columbus and Overbeek and all the other guys in those lineup to have a really good quality at bats, which is going to create some challenges. I think when you're a bopper team, it's all or none. When you're a team like us, speed kills, speed's consistent, bopping isn't, right? So I think it's this notion of we've got enough guys, we've enough hitters, we've got plenty of pitching. And instead of it being a long series, this is a short series, right? We've got, there's 4 teams and we got to grind away, and you can throw a lot of guys over a lot of days over the course of the next 3-4 days here.
That's what's interesting, because when you look at Nebraska's opportunity ahead, right? I've thrown the stat out a plethora of times that 61 of the last 64 regional winners have won their first game. It is so crucial to win the first game of the series of the regional tournament. And also talk about the momentum. You're talking about riding a 6-game winning streak. You're talking about just feeling like you are frankly unbeatable. And I think also when you look at Nebraska, like there's a sense of where they could go out today, play a really well-played baseball game, and still fall 2-1. Like, you know this as well as anybody, Charlie, where it's baseball's this unique situation to where you can have 0 errors, you can walk less than 3 guys, and you can just be shut down in the box, lose a game 2-1, and you just tip your cap. And vice versa, you can win a game 3-2, and the other team just tips their cap. Nebraska needs those types of games because that plays into their identity. That plays into what kind of philosophy that Will Bolt wants to instill in this program. You talked about the BOP, or it's all or nothing with home run hitting teams. Perfect example is last year with Nebraska. You have great talent, but the identity kind of got away and slipped away from Nebraska. They've done a really good job, and the pitching staff, especially like you said with Rob Childress, has done a really good job of correcting that and getting them back on the right track. All right, Charlie. Final thoughts here. Nebraska, we are just a little over an hour away from first pitch. You're going to be in the building. We're going to be in the building. First of all, thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit. What's the X factor? What happens at 2 p.m.?
So if you just look at stats, right, and I love stats and I study them a lot. So our team ERA is about 4.4. Theirs is somewhere around 6.42. But throw all that out when you get into the postseason. It doesn't matter. We got to have Brett Sears shove and shove and shove today, and we have to have quality at bats. I actually think it's going to be a fairly close game. I think it could be fairly low scoring, and I could see it being an 8th or 9th inning game.
What more do you want?
I mean, it'd be a huge blessing for us, right? Because that means that we have put ourselves in a position to use speed and defense to win the game.
And then let's see who stands up.
Let's go.
Like it show that, like, as a competitor for, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
A competitor for all those guys in that dugout for Nebraska. That's the time where it's like, we're better than you.
Absolutely.
We're going to grind this out.
Absolutely.
And then you talk about the emotion, the competitiveness. If you're able to get on top of that, man, those are things that fuel postseason runs.
Will has talked all year to those guys about being the toughest, grittiest team in the country. If we didn't see that last week, getting punched right in the mouth game 1 and grinding 5 out, you're never going to see it. But we've got it. That's the X factor. We're going to keep coming and coming and coming at you, and we're going to have quality at bats and strikes. I think today it's going to be a 5-3, 5-4, 6-5 game, somewhere there. But I do think it's going to be our ability to put pressure on the defense that's going to make the difference. And I will say it again. Our guys just have to stay within themselves. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to get enamored with the small ballpark and be something that you're not. Let's be singles, doubles, hitters. Let's move guys station to station and throw strikes and see what happens.
I loved the quote before we get you out of here. I loved the quote from Will Bolt yesterday, and it was to end the press conference session where he said that he was asked about, what is Brett going to have to do differently? How's he going to have to handle this Florida lineup differently than maybe some competition? And he said, Brett's not going to change a thing. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of those white lines. It doesn't matter. We respect Florida, certainly, but it doesn't matter. Brett's going to do his thing. We're going to play our baseball game, and we're going to try to compete. And, that is the perfect embodiment of not only just Nebraska, but Nebraska baseball and how they're going to need to win a game. Charlie, appreciate it, man. It's always a pleasure. Good stuff. Enjoy the game, and who knows, maybe we'll be doing this again.
We're going to get after one, you guys. GBR, we'll definitely meet you back here tomorrow after we get a W.
There it is, Charlie Cologne. Appreciate him sitting down with us. Let's take a break. When we come back, we bring back Austin, and we talk about some national stuff as there's some intriguing regionals. Not only the Stillwater one, there's some intriguing and loaded, frankly, regionals across the country, College Station, Tucson, and a couple of others that we'll tell you a little bit about and give you more info on. Appreciate Charlie Cologne sitting down. We'll come back. We're live at the garage down here at Stillwater, just a little over 60 minutes away from first pitch between number 2 Nebraska and number 3 Florida. This is 93.7 The Ticket.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Here you go. Coffee's on me and my new BFF.
I thought I was your best friend forever.
BFF like best financial friend at Members Own Credit Union. Right now, they're offering $100 when you consolidate or transfer a loan or an existing credit card balance and meet requirements. Plus, you get great rates and free advice from a financial partner that will put you first.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Members Own Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
You already know that Select Plumbing takes care of all your plumbing needs, including water heaters, faucet repairs, leaks, drips, sump pumps, and more. Now, they're able to help you with your heating and air conditioning as well. Select Plumbing has recently expanded into residential heating and air, and they're excited to bring this new service to their complete list of plumbing services. Call to book an appointment today at 402-560-6197 or go to selectplumbinginc.com, serving Lincoln, Seward, Milford, and the surrounding areas. The weather is hot, the kids are out of school, and you're on your way to the lake and summer road trips. Are you getting to your vacation spot comfortably, or is your car letting you down? Mullen Motors lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride for summer road trips and beyond. Mullen Motors.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
It's the best time of the year to order a new John Deere planter from Landmark Implement during the early order program. Plant for success with the industry's latest technology. Upgrade to an Exactly Merge high-speed planter to cover more acres, increasing flexibility and productivity. Now is the time to lock in the best price of the year. Contact your local Landmark location to order your new John Deere planter and experience the Landmark difference.
24/7 threat monitoring, expert tech support, streamlined communications. Allo has a solution for that. Protect your business with Allo Business. Comprehensive firewall security, Microsoft Teams voice-integrated communications, cybersecurity and IT support managed by experts. From productivity to peace of mind, Allo has a solution for that. Allo means business. Protect your business by visiting allofiber.com/business.
Dell and Ed present A Kernel of Truth.
That's Ed's new drone. Why do a couple of Nebraska corn farmers need a drone? 2 words: multispectral imaging. Drones help us farm more efficiently and protect planet Earth. Yep, Ed's a pretty good pilot. When he doesn't hit the broadside of a barn, that is. Nebraska corn. It's the plant that can change the planet.
Visit nebraskacorn.gov to learn more.
The Nebraska Neurosurgery Group, led by Dr. Daniel Tomes and Dr. Benjamin Bixeman, is committed to providing the best care for all of your neurosurgery needs, like minimally invasive spine procedures, peripheral nerve release, brain surgery, including tumor removal and brain injury management, and more. The Nebraska Neurosurgery Group has outreach clinics throughout Nebraska and northern Kansas. Schedule your appointment with the region's top neurosurgeons at 402-904-4729. At the Nebraska Neurosurgery Group in Lincoln on South 27th Street. Or check out the website, nebraskaneurosurgery.net, for a full list of services and outreach clinics.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl Jordan with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Let's talk about versatility today. Unlike flowers that wither and die or chocolates that disappear in a heartbeat, jewelry is the solid move here, guys. Yes, she will cherish it, but more important than anything, she will brag about it and brag about you. And that's what it's all about. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh, yeah. This is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks, exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
School tells you all about the 4 seasons: spring, summer, and so on. And then there's a way we really tell what time of year it is. Sports seasons: football season, baseball season, or even off season. Well, what's the chocolate season? Well, it's now, of course. And now, and always. Whether you're looking for a caffeinated pick-me-up on the way to work, a little snack on the way home, or you need the perfect gift that's sure to be appreciated, it's time for the chocolate season, y'all. 40th and Old Cheney, or order ahead at thechocolatseason.com. See you there.
Hi, it's Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and it's truck month at Koppel, and we want to sell them all. Choose between 0.9% APR or as much as $8,000 off list price. Yes, you heard right. That's 0.9% APR or as much as $8,000 off list on select new GMC and Chevrolet inventory. So please make that money-saving drive to Koppel in Louisville or check us out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with approved credit must trade and finance.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Back to 93.7 The Ticket special presentation from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Brought to you by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blur Events. With Nick Sainert and Austin Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Thanks again to former Husker Charlie Cologne for stopping on by, talking a little Husker baseball as we are about an hour away from first pitch here in Stillwater. Nick Sainert, Austin Norman with you. Want to thank Sandhills Global. Sandhills Global is hiring. Find your fit today in their fast-paced growing culture in Lincoln at sandhills.jobs. Also, Mullen Motors. Summer is here. Don't settle for road trips in your rundown clunker. Head over to Mullen Motors to find your new ride for this year and years to come. Just north of 48th and Layton. And last but certainly not least, Blur Events. The road to Omaha starts today, and the best party for the College World Series is at Blur Tailgate at Hilton, Omaha. That is going on from June 14th to this 22nd of June. Get ready for your best tailgating experience you'll find anywhere. Just 2 blocks south of the stadium and up there in Omaha. You can purchase your tickets for that party and experience at blurevents.com. So once again, I want to thank Charlie Cologne for stopping on by. I want to thank the Garage for having us out. It's been a quick hour that we've been out here. I want to briefly, before we take a break and go fully into the 1 o'clock hour, look around the country at some of the other regionals that are going on. Wofford still leads LSU this time, though, 2-1. Coastal Carolina has extended their lead on Vanderbilt. They lead 8-0 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Texas A&M leads Grambling down there in College Station 2-0. Army has extended their lead against the Georgia Bulldogs 4-1. And Indiana, the Hoosiers, the lone other Big Ten team playing right now, has extended their lead 5-0 over Southern Miss. So a lot of good games going on. Western Michigan, trying to cut into that Kentucky lead. They trail 8-5 to the team from Lexington. So once again, Austin, when you look around the country, there's obviously some regionals that are maybe a little more loaded than others. What are some that maybe stand out to you?
Okay, so the wild card region to me, the chaos region, is College Station.
Yeah.
If you look at WarrenNolan.com, A&M's the number 3 national seed, but Louisiana, Raging Cajuns, a solid baseball program, and Texas is in that regional. It's spicy, not the best, not exactly where my eyes are. I go to Tallahassee, Florida State, Alabama, the top 2 in that team. UCF has been kind of frisky. Stetson has played, I think, at least 2 of those teams, and I think beat both of them, so that's interesting to me. Norman, the 2-horse race between Oklahoma and Duke.
Yeah.
It fascinates me for a lot of reasons. Raleigh with NC State and South Carolina, even James Madison may be in that conversation. But to me, there's no other place to go for the best regional other than Tucson.
Yeah.
Arizona, strength of schedule, RPI, darling. Dallas Baptist has been really good. West Virginia's been on a run since J.J. Weatherholt has been healthy. And Grand Canyon, a Nebraska opponent. Yeah. All 4 of those teams are capable of winning that regional and could have won any other regional they would put in. It's a shame that only one team is going to come out of that regional, if you ask me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. While we have a second, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of regional action right here from Stillwater.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
It's interesting, Austin, because one of the scores that I did not mention was in the Chapel Hill Regional, Greenville Regional, Evansville is up on the host team, East Carolina, 2-0 in the 4th inning. It's interesting to see, and we had this conversation, and maybe it's not good to go down this hole because we don't have all the facts of the differences where some host sites are playing the afternoon or morning game. Mm-hmm. Others are playing the night game. Here in Stillwater, number 1 seed Oklahoma State plays tonight at 6 p.m. And the games are scheduled at 2 and 6 today, tomorrow, and on Sunday potentially. It's still to be determined if the if necessary game is played on Monday. But then at other places, it's 11 a.m. and what would it be, probably 3 p.m. maybe on that one. It's interesting to see the differences between, okay, this host site in East Carolina playing at 11 a.m., getting up early, getting it out of the way, but then you also have a host site in Oklahoma State playing at 6 p.m.
It's interesting because it's not necessarily all TV dominated, right? If this was a football or basketball conversation, it might be. Maybe, well, I don't know if Evansville is Eastern time or Central time, but maybe that's part of it with East Carolina. Will Bolt was asked about that very thing in his press conference. Said, "Oh, is that the case? I just got on the bus.
Is that the time
which is kind of funny, he knows when you're playing, right? But the point is, he's not making a big deal of it. I would say, in my approach, Nick, would be stick to as regular schedule as possible. Since you're playing Friday and Saturday guaranteed. Mm-hmm. If I'm the 1 seed, I want the late game, right? Because my Friday night games are 6, 7 o'clock first pitches. It gets me in that normal routine of a season. Same for Saturday. You hope the winner's game is later in the day, right? Maybe more prime time, but you're used to Saturday nights more so than Saturday afternoons. But then Sunday, you're okay with more rest, but maybe, the afternoon game is fine. It really depends, I think, if the host sites, the host teams get a say, if it is all dominated by whoever's airing the game, or if it's just luck of the draw. These 8 host schools will play the early game, or these 5 will play the early game, these 6 will play the middle game, these 5 will play the late game. I'd love to know more about what goes into that, if coaches and athletic departments are allowed to have a say in the process, or if it's NCAA mandated.
It's interesting. One last thing before we get to break into our deep dive on the Florida Gators is really this Stillwater regional is pretty intense, right? Because you have, yes, Niagara, right? That doesn't really blow you away on not necessarily paper, but just by saying their name. But then also you have Oklahoma State, who's a common host, and then you have Florida, who's won NCAA championship in 2017 under Kevin O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan's been there for 17 years, since 2008. You also had it where previously he's faced off against Nebraska in 2002 out at Rosenblatt Stadium when he was an assistant with Clemson. But ultimately, that's a team that you're accustomed to seeing in postseason play. And then maybe while we talked about it earlier in the show, Nebraska doesn't have the national power respect, which is understandable. They're still tabbed and have the title associated to their name that they're a Big Ten champion. This is going to be a popular regional.
It should be, very much so, because Oklahoma State had their run. Florida one and done in the conference tournament, but has the cachet. Big Ten tournament, Nebraska, and then Niagara Conference champion as well. It's how they got here. Charlie mentioned when you had him on about, Florida and how often they search out the home run.
Yeah.
For Nebraska today, and we'll get to this later, it's going to be important, I think, to get in front, right, and make Florida try to rely on that long ball when it comes to approach and mindset. I love the position Nebraska is in as a dark horse, as the 2 seed, but probably the third best odds. 2 seed, but the third most recognition. If I'm Nebraska, I lean into that aspect of we're the underdog. I don't care if we're the 2 seed and Florida's the 3. Everyone gives Florida more of a chance than they do us. And I think that fits perfectly what Nebraska needs and where they like to play from.
I would absolutely agree. We turn to the 1 o'clock hour. We are less than 60 minutes away from first pitch between Nebraska and the Gators. 2 seed Nebraska, 3 seed Florida. We'll talk about it. Break down the Florida Gators a little bit deeper. We also have Nebraska's lineup here when we come back. We'll tell you all about it. What's the starting 9 look like when we return? We're live from the garage here in Stillwater, just a couple blocks away from O'Brate Stadium, getting you ready for Nebraska and Florida coming up next on 93.7 The Ticket.
Here you go. Coffee's on me and my new BFF.
I thought I was your best friend forever.
BFF like best financial friend at Members Own Credit Union. Right now, they're offering $100 when you consolidate or transfer a loan or an existing credit card balance and meet requirements. Plus, you get great rates and free advice from a financial partner that will put you first.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Members Own Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Del and Ed present A Kernel of Truth.
That's Ed's new drone. Why do a couple of Nebraska corn farmers need a drone? 2 words: multispectral imaging. Drones help us farm more efficiently and protect planet Earth. Yep, Ed's a pretty good pilot. When he doesn't hit the broadside of a barn, that is. Nebraska corn. It's the plant that can change the planet.
Visit nebraskacorn.gov to learn more.
The weather is hot, the kids are out of school, and you're on your way to the lake and summer road trips. Are you getting to your vacation spot comfortably, or is your car letting you down? Mullen Motors lot is full of great vehicles to take home so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride for summer road trips and beyond. Mullen Motors.
No tag-ons, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Take your internet service to new levels with Allo, your award-winning internet provider across our fiber hoods. Allo isn't just about the fastest internet available. It's about connecting you to your world, work, and play seamlessly. Our award-winning service ensures affordable, secure, and reliable connectivity, setting us apart. Ready to transform your internet experience? Experience the fiber difference today. Sign up now at allofiber.com. Allo, connecting your world.
For the second year, the Nebraska Lottery's NASCAR Powerball Playoff promotion has roared into our state, and the excitement is throttling up. Until June 24th, buy a Powerball ticket with Power Play and Double Play. Enter the voucher number, and you could be one of 15 Nebraska winners of $1,000 and the chance to win a VIP trip to the NASCAR Cup Series Championship Weekend, plus a shot at $1 million. Enter today. Powerball top prize odds 1 in 292 million.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs. Hey guys, it's Nick. 93.7 The Ticket is excited to be broadcasting this weekend from Stillwater, Oklahoma, as the Big Ten champion Nebraska baseball team appears in their first regional since 2021. From Friday through Monday, Austin and I will have pregame shows, postgame reactions, interviews, and other thoughts from Stillwater as the Huskers begin their road to Omaha. If you're making the trip down there, make sure you join Austin and I on Friday from 12 to 2 from the Garage Burgers and Beer in Stillwater, located just 3 blocks away from O'Brate Stadium. Regional coverage is presented by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blur Events. It's NCAA baseball tournament coverage live from Stillwater, Oklahoma, this Friday through Monday on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you're looking for a pre-owned tractor to upgrade your operation this year, you'll find a wide selection at your local Landmark Implement. We'll work with you to find the right equipment for your needs at a price that's right for you, all backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network. During the month of May, get financing as low as 3.9% for up to 72 months on model year 21 through 23 wheeled 8R tractors. Visit landmarkimp.com to see our complete inventory or stop by your local Landmark location and experience the Landmark difference.
Hi, it's Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and it's truck month at Koppel, and we want to sell them all. Choose between 0.9% APR or as much as $8,000 off list price. Yes, you heard right. That's 0.9% APR or as much as $8,000 off list on select new GMC and Chevrolet inventory. So please make that money-saving drive to Koppel in Louisville or check us out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with approved credit must trade and finance.
This is James Harrell with NP Dodge Real Estate. When I became a licensed realtor, I wanted a brokerage that would help me grow in my new career. I found that in Lincoln First Realty. When Lincoln First was acquired by NP Dodge, the training and support I received only got better. I love knowing I have the power of the NP Dodge brand behind me. I would recommend NP Dodge to new agents looking to jumpstart their real estate career and to current agents who want to take their business to the next level.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
You already know that Select Plumbing takes care of all your plumbing needs, including water heaters, faucet repairs, leaks, drips, sump pumps, and more. Now, they're able to help you with your heating and air conditioning as well. Select Plumbing has recently expanded into residential heating and air, and they're excited to bring this new service to their complete list of plumbing services. Call to book an appointment today at 402-560-6197 or go to selectplumbinginc.com, serving Lincoln, Seward, Milford, and the surrounding areas.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
93.7 The Ticket is on the road.
That ball is pelted to deep left, and that is way gone for Josh Karen.
Coming at you live from Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Karen drills another ball. That's headed to outer space again.
This is 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hitting the gap. Left center field. Kelly cannot get there. Brumbaugh to the plate with the go-ahead run. Gabe Swanson puts the Cornhuskers on top.
Getting you ready for Nebraska Baseball's first regional appearance since 2021. And live from the Garage Burgers and Beer in Stillwater.
Here's Bryce Molinaro, who serves it to left. Swanson is there. The magical ride through the elimination bracket complete. Nebraska, the Big Ten tournament champion for the first time ever.
NCAA baseball coverage is presented by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blur Events.
Once you get to the postseason, it's 5 wins to Omaha. You have 13,000 people here for this game. Imagine what it's like getting Nebraska to this venue for the College World Series. It's 5 wins away.
Here's Nick Sainert and Austin Orman.
Hour number one, or excuse me, I should say 1 o'clock hour, rather. Not hour number one. Hour number two of us here at the Garage in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Nick Sainert, Austin Orman. This will be the final segment of us live. We'll send it to break here in about 15 minutes or so. We recorded a segment to talking about some things, getting you ready more so about Nebraska's pitching. We talk about that, break that down in depth in the next segment before we throw it back to the studio for the 2 o'clock hour. and obviously Austin's usual co-host, Eric Strickland. So when we look at Nebraska and Florida, once again, you guys can chime in 464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline. The Starter Heyman text line are both open for you guys, as well as the Starter Heyman Jewelers live video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or rather no Twitch, Twitter, and Allo Channel 961. Scooter from Roca asks us, will you guys be broadcasting all weekend, and what is the weather like down there? I can tell you this, there are conversations. We're gonna have plenty of content. It's a matter of whether or not it's me and Austin recording in our hotel rooms or whether we're out here. And so I can tell you this right now, the garage says that they are welcoming us back. We must not have burnt too many bridges. We brought in Husker fans.
We're getting food.
The garage, yeah, they're providing food. The garage wants us back tomorrow. So I would say that there's probably a pretty good chance that we'll be back in the same spot tomorrow afternoon. But nonetheless, yeah, there will be plenty of interviews, content coming your way from O'Brate Stadium. So make sure you give not only 93.7 a ticket the follow, and if you're not following them already, shame on you, but also follow myself, Nick_Sainert on Twitter, and at Austin Orman Austin _Orman on X as well, because we'll have plenty of stuff coming your way from Stillwater over the course of the next couple of days. All right, so we have Nebraska's starting lineup. We're going to get to that to kind of close things out here just before 1:30. But now it's time that we talk a little bit deeper about Florida, right? Florida Gators, they've been to a regional every single year under Kevin O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan getting paid $1.85 million a season to lead the Florida Gators. As you mentioned, Austin, over 4 times the amount of Will Bolt. Talk about the SEC investment. You understand why and everything.
And he's worth every penny, to be fair.
Yes, he brought Florida their first and now since only NCAA championship back in 2017. But Florida is really, really interesting to kind of look at. They've won 9 regional tournaments. They've won 8 super regionals under Kevin O'Sullivan specifically. This is a coach and a program that is not a stranger to the stage.
It's absolutely not. And there's a lot of returners from last year, right? You look at the star power that Florida lost, obviously Wyatt Langford.
Yeah.
Stud, heart and soul of that lineup, batting ahead of Jack Caglianone. You look on the mound, Brandon Sproat, Hurston Waldrop, both gone. But Nick, Florida has had some younger guys grow into bigger roles.
Yeah.
Not a lot of them have taken big steps forward, but there's maybe a little bit more consistency from them. And here's the thing. It's hard to step into a starting role in the SEC, right? A lot of the guys on Florida's team played a role last year, but not necessarily the role they're being asked to play this year. So kind of like we talked about after that 2021 season for Nebraska moving into 2022, when Max Anderson and Bryce Matthews and that crew were, all Big Ten freshmen, they didn't have to carry the load. So anything got from them was gravy. Same kind of thing happened for Florida this year. The big hitters, the water carriers came through for Florida last year. Hasn't been as consistent without the upper level star power necessarily. But these guys have been here on the stage before, and even a bigger stage, led by Kevin O'Sullivan. But Florida absolutely has the experience edge in the dugout and on the field today.
O'Sullivan, 3-time SEC Coach of the Year. He was the National Coach of the Year back in 2011. He led, like I mentioned, Florida to their first title in 2017. He's been to the College World Series a plethora of times, including 4 straight from 2015 to 2018. As we mentioned, 8 times total in Omaha, 9 regionals won for O'Sullivan. The 28 wins for Florida this season, like you mentioned, they lost a lot of guys, but they're also no slouch or stranger to the stage. 28 wins, the fewest amount of wins for Florida since 2013 when they won 27 that season. But once again, still made the tournament or the regionals that season as well. The projected starting arm, right? We were going back and forth, the curiosity of, is it Caglianone? Is it going to be somebody else? We know it's going to be Liam Peterson, or we expect that it's going to be Liam Peterson, 6'5" right-hander, 14 appearances on the year, 12 starts for Peterson, holds a 2-4 record overall, a 5.83 earned run average in 54 innings pitched for the Florida Gators. Not necessarily a lengthy starter. He does not go deep into ball games, just a few appearances where he's gone farther than 5 or 6 innings, if that. He has allowed 2 or more home runs in almost half of his appearances. You're obviously playing now in a heavy hitter ballpark. He has not gone deeper than 6 innings, as I mentioned. He's given the fair share of free passes on the mound. He's allowed 29 walks this season in those 14 appearances. I told Charlie earlier around 12:30. There's only been one game where he hasn't walked a single guy, and it was when he only threw 2 innings because he allowed 6 earned runs to Texas A&M back on March 16th. He's allowed 5 or more hits in 6 of the 14 appearances. He's allowed 53 total hits in his 54 innings this season. This is a guy that's going to give Nebraska opportunities. Not only do they have to have the right approach at the plate, but it's also what can you do on the bases around him to really cause some issues.
It feels like it's a tale of two Liam Petersons to some degree, right? You look at those numbers that you just threw out there, but then hat tip to Evan Bland, friend of the station from the Omaha World Herald. In his kind of preview, he throws out these numbers for Liam Peterson. He's allowed 4 earned runs in 15 and a third innings and starts against Tennessee, number 1 overall national seed, Kentucky, number 3 national seed, and number 10 national seed, Georgia. What do you make of him? You don't know. It kind of feels like what Liam Peterson is Florida going to get today, right? A 583 earned run average overall, that's exorbitant. That's sky high for a guy who's a frontline starting pitcher in the SEC, but he's been better in big moments, right? Does he stand up under the weight of the expectations? Does he collapse under them, right? This is where, again, I think it's the onus on Nebraska to get on a young pitcher early, rattle his confidence, even if you don't touch him up for more than 1 or 2 runs in the early going, make him throw a lot of pitches, wear him down, make him doubt himself. Because, he's pitched well a couple times, but he hasn't done it consistently. He's still a freshman. This is his first time on this stage.
You're absolutely right. And Nebraska, once again, has an opportunity to kind of get to him early if they're able to take him out of the game early, force him out in that 2-3 innings spot, get to the bullpen. That has certainly been shaky all season long for the Florida Gators. Will Bolt, that is, when he was asked about him, said this, quote, top 100 player in the country, could have easily signed a contract, has a really good fastball. And then he mentioned this part. Once again, it's a lot about Nebraska controlling what they can control, controlling their own approach. He says it's the fine line of being ready to hit, but also swinging at the right pitches. That is going to be big. Just understanding that if we really focus on what we need to do at the plate, we don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about the opponent or the other pitcher. It's more about what we can do. Great approach and great response from Will Bolt.
It's that second line, the third sentence that Will Bolt said, fine line of being ready to hit, but also swinging at the right pitches. That is approach boiled down, right? Sometimes the best pitch you're going to see in an at-bat is the first one. Sometimes he's going to hang a breaking ball. Sometimes he's going to give you a fastball in your zone. Pitch recognition is going to be key. Nebraska took its first batting practice on O'Brate Stadium this morning. How are they picking it up out of the batter's eye? How well do they have him scouted? What counts does he like to throw what pitch in? Because as a batter, to some degree, it's always a guess, right? And if you swing at the first pitch, of course, it's going to be the best pitch you see in a bat if you make contact with it. But it's a guy that has a propensity to give away some free passes, so you have to be patient. But also, if you can get balls in the gap, put pressure on Florida's defense, you have to be ready for your pitch when he throws it, no matter what the count is.
The starting lineup for your Huskers today looks very similar to the one in that they won the Big Ten title with, but just one little change in the starting lineup is it's going to look like this. Josh Overbeek starting at third, hitting number 1 in the lineup. Case Sanderson, the right fielder, hitting second. Josh Caron, after those 6 home runs last weekend, hits third. Ben Columbus, Lumbo, the starting first baseman, hitting cleanup. Gabe Swanson in the lineup, as you would expect, hitting fifth, getting the start in left field. Here's the change. No Evans today. No Cole Evans. I was blanking on the first name. No Cole Evans today at designated hitter. Tyler Stone gets the start at the designated hitter position today. The lefty gets the start as the designated hitter. Dylan Carey hitting seventh gets the start at shortstop. Riley Silva patrols center field. And Rhett Stokes, who has been really, like I said earlier, unsung, right? We don't talk about Rhett Stokes. You wouldn't necessarily know how well he's hitting unless you truly did a deep dive on it and paid attention to Nebraska baseball pretty closely. But he was big. He's strong in the field. He's a good, nice little secondary leadoff hitter in that 9 spot. That if Nebraska gets into a spot where, let's say it's 9-1-2 to start an inning, guess what? Rhett Stokes, Overbeek, and then Sanderson to kind of start an inning, you have a pretty good chance of not getting just one guy on, but 2 guys on, setting the table for your big guys in Karen, Columbus, and Swanson.
I'll back that up even one more spot in the order to Riley Silva. If it's 8-9-1, I mean, among the national leaders in times getting hit by a pitch this year, that's not just speed, that's chaotic speed on the base paths in Riley Silva. Then Rhett Stokes, who can handle the bat, has dropped down some bunts from that 9-hole, but can, place a single and get two guys on for the top of the order. Overbeek has a little pop that'll play up. Sanderson, we know they love his bat. That's where it might have to start for Nebraska, right? If Peterson comes out guns a-blazing, ready in the moment, that's where I think, even though there might be some younger guys, the guys on the stage for the first time, so often in baseball, it comes down to whose bottom of the order is more productive. We know Florida has the stars, the star power, obviously, in Caglianone. But if Nebraska can be better 1 through 9 all weekend, that gives them a chance in any game they play. Before
we talk about who's on the bump, it's the Nebraska Corn Board, enhancing demand, adding value, and ensuring sustainability. You can learn more at nebraskacorn.gov. So I want to thank the Nebraska Corn Board for their support. Okay, it's official, Husker fans. Don't panic. Brett Sears is officially on the bump to start today for Nebraska baseball. 9-0, right? Sub 2, or I think is right at 2 earned run average on the season. Didn't have his best stuff in the Big Ten tournament, still did the job. And that's where you don't have to be perfect if you're Brett Sears or frankly anybody with Nebraska. It's have this team-centric focus and take care of your business, do your job, don't do anything extraordinary, and you're going to be in a spot to at least compete.
And that, to me, goes back to what Will Bolt was saying about Brett Sears. He's not going to change his game plan.
Yep.
Right. Brett Sears, from the outside, is shouldering a lot of load. He and McConaughey in the starting rotation. You just hope Brett Sears doesn't feel that, right? That he's able to just go through a normal routine, get ready the same way he always has. And maybe, his fastball ticks up a notch or two with the adrenaline, with the nerves of being on this big stage here in the NCAA tournament. But Nebraska doesn't need anything extra from Brett Sears. They just need Brett Sears today.
Tater asked on the text line, is there a comfortable score where Will Bolt could take Sears out to try and save his arm? I think the approach, right? Because we know the way Will Bolt, and the reason he didn't start on Tuesday was because of rest. This is a very short tournament, right? Obviously, you're not going to hold on to Brett Sears hoping that, hey, let's hope he goes Sunday, right? Or let's hope he can start Monday. That's not going to be the case with Brett Sears. The reason he was able to go back on Sunday is because you're going to throw a normal bullpen session to begin with. So let's just have him go one inning and in a one-run ball game. Will Bolt was pretty adamant on that belief as well, and understandably so. I think a lot of it with any of the pitchers this week, but especially Brett Sears, is you understand what kind of chores he's had this season, what you've asked him to do, the taxes on his arm, but also if he's feeling good and that communication between Will Bolt, Brett Sears, and Rob Childress is constant and transparent, then ride it until you can't no more. Because Brett Sears is one of your best arms.
He is your best arm, not just one of them. He is your best arm, without a doubt. And Tater, I get where you're coming from, but Florida's offense, the way it loves the long ball, if Brett Sears is rolling, he's keeping the ball either knee high or shoulder high, knee high or letter high. Changing eye levels that way, mixing speeds. You trust him more than you trust the Nebraska bullpen. So I get it. You want him available later in the regional, but you trust him to get nutrition, to get rested, to get iced up and everything, so that if Nebraska needs him Sunday or Monday, he's available for a shorter stint. You don't want to pull him too early.
Yeah.
It's easier to pull him too early than it is too late.
You're absolutely right. And Brett Sears did mention, you talk about the home runs part. He was asked, how do you approach Florida? And he said, quote, solo shots won't beat you. Maybe they get 1, maybe they get 2. I don't know. I'm not going to put guys on in front of guys that do that. As long as I stay in the zone, stay stingy, I think we'll be fine. And so that's really the approach, right? And he is very much of, listen, there may be a pitch that I mess up or I may make one mistake, but it's not allowing the previous pitches to hurt me worse when I do make the mistake.
Well, and Caglianone said that in his presser.
Yeah, it's limit the mistakes, right? Limit the damage. And Brett Sears did that last week against Purdue. He gave up a solo shot in the first inning. Nebraska was just fine.
Right. Caglianone said, we expect to get lots of good pitches to hit, which tracks with what Brett Sears said. I'm going to attack the zone. Florida's going to be ready. Sears has to hit his spots. right? Don't leave it in Florida's wheelhouse.
All right, once again, we are live here at the Garage down here at Stillwater, Oklahoma, just a little over 30 minutes away from first pitch between Nebraska and the Florida Gators. When we come back, we dive into Nebraska's pitching as well, a little bit deeper. Some talk about how Nebraska, frankly, has avoided the bad injury bug, and that's a big reason why they are where they are and the success that they've had this season. Some last-second updates from around the country. Coastal Carolina still leads Vanderbilt 8-1. Wofford and LSU are tied at 3 in the top of the 9th inning, so that one coming down to the wire. Georgia has narrowed the gap against Army. Army still leads 4-3. Evansville still leads over the host 16 seed East Carolina 2-1, and the other Big Ten team, the Indiana Hoosiers, are on the road, are in the Knoxville Regional and beating the number 2 seed Southern Miss Eagles 7-0 after 4 innings of play. Elsewhere in the Raleigh, North Carolina Regional at NC State, James Madison up on South Carolina 1-0 early on in that one as well. So once again, can't thank the Garage out here, Stillwater, enough. We might be back tomorrow. Who knows? But when we come back, we dive into Nebraska's pitching a little bit deeper, talk about the injury bug, talk about some other things and how we could see this one playing out just a little bit away. We are 3 blocks away from O'Brate Stadium. As always, want to thank all of our sponsors. And by the way, especially the Members-Owned Credit Union folks. Invest with your nest. Soar toward the future with a home equity line of credit. And also learn about their certificate special with a 16-month term as high as 5% APY. Learn more at memberzonecu.org. Nick Sander, Austin Norman. We'll be right back on 93.7 The Ticket.
The weather is hot, the kids are out of school, and you're on your way to the lake and summer road trips. Are you getting to your vacation spot comfortably, or is your car letting you down? Mullen Motors Lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride for summer road trips and beyond. Mullen Motors.
No tag-ons, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
You already know that Select Plumbing takes care of all your plumbing needs, including water heaters, faucet repairs, leaks, drips, sump pumps, and more. Now, they're able to help you with your heating and air conditioning as well. Select Plumbing has recently expanded into residential heating and air, and they're excited to bring this new service to their complete list of plumbing services. Call to book an appointment today at 402-560-6197 or go to selectplumbinginc.com. Serving Lincoln, Seward, Milford, and the surrounding areas.
Hello.
Angela, we have to break up.
But why?
Because you're a robot and I'm just a guy trying to get better internet.
It's Aloe Fiber, isn't it? I always knew you wanted faster speeds. My contract isn't good enough for you.
Face it, Angela, they let me talk to real people.
Press 4 to break my heart. Oh wait, you already did.
Visit aloefiber.com to switch today.
Dell and Ed present A Kernel of Truth.
That's Ed's new drone. Why do a couple of Nebraska corn farmers need a drone? 2 words: multispectral imaging. Drones help us farm more efficiently and protect planet Earth. Yep, Ed's a pretty good pilot. When he doesn't hit the broadside of a barn, that is. Nebraska corn. It's the plant that can change the planet.
Visit nebraskacorn.gov to learn more.
Cover more acres with a pre-owned sprayer or planter from Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealer. We offer one of the area's largest selections of used sprayers, applicators, planters, and seeders. Through the month of May, take advantage of fixed-rate financing as low as 4.75% for up to 60 months or an 8-month interest waiver. Visit your local Landmark Implement location or visit our complete sprayer and seeding inventory online at landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl Jordan with Starter Heyman Jewelry, here to drop some knowledge bombs on how to wow your woman. Size matters, but not the way you're thinking, guys. Make sure you know her ring size before you even think about popping the question. If you aren't a surprise kind of guy, ask her. I bet she knows her size. If you are a surprise kind of guy, bring in a piece and we can get close to the right size. We will make it perfect for her when the time is right. Until next time, this is Jordan at Starter Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
Dell and Ed present A Kernel of Truth.
That's Ed's new drone. Why do a couple of Nebraska corn farmers need a drone? 2 words: multispectral imaging. Drones help us farm more efficiently and protect planet Earth. Yep, Ed's a pretty good pilot. When he doesn't hit the broadside of a barn, that is. Nebraska corn. It's the plant that can change the planet.
Visit nebraskacorn.gov to learn more.
Here you go. Coffee's on me and my new BFF.
I thought I was your best friend forever.
BFF like best financial friend at Members Own Credit Union. Right now, they're offering $100 when you consolidate or transfer a loan or an existing credit card balance and meet requirements. Plus, you get great rates and free advice from a financial partner that will put you first.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Members Own Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
The end of the school year is drawing near, which means graduation parties are coming soon. Are you prepared for that if you're hosting? Fierce Cheese Spread is the dip that brings everyone together to celebrate graduations and to close out a great school year. And it goes well with crackers, meats, soups, and more. How could you throw a party without it? Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Fierce Cheese Spread. No graduation party is complete without it.
Hi, it's Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and it's truck month at Koppel, and we want to sell them all. Choose between 0.9% APR or as much as $8,000 off list price. Yes, you heard right. That's 0.9% APR or as much as $8,000 off list on select new GMC and Chevrolet inventory. So please make that money-saving drive to Koppel in Louisville or check us out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with approved credit must trade and finance.
Hey guys, it's Nick. 93.7 The Ticket is excited to be broadcasting this weekend from Stillwater, Oklahoma, as the Big Ten champion Nebraska baseball team appears in their first regional since 2021. From Friday through Monday, Austin and I will have pregame shows, postgame reactions, interviews, and other thoughts from Stillwater as the Huskers begin their road to Omaha. If you're making the trip down there, make sure you join Austin and I on Friday from 12 to 2 from the Garage Burgers and Beer in Stillwater, located just 3 blocks away from O'Brate Stadium. Regional coverage is presented by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blur Events. It's NCAA baseball tournament coverage live from Stillwater, Oklahoma, this Friday through Monday on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Highball Bar in downtown Lincoln is open and located just north of 11th and O Street. Highball Bar offers a vibe and atmosphere like no other, making it the perfect place to grab a drink or beverage. Highball Bar features great events such as Karaoke Sunday, $4 Tito's on Mondays, Jack Daniel's specials on Wednesdays, and much more. Make Highball Bar your go-to spot after a hard day at work or on the weekend. Highball Bar, located at 122 North 11th Street in downtown Lincoln.
This is James Harrell with NP Dodge Real Estate. When I became a licensed realtor, I wanted a brokerage that would help me grow in my new career. I found that in Lincoln First Realty. When Lincoln First was acquired by NP Dodge, the training and support I received only got better. I love knowing I have the power of the NP Dodge brand behind me. I would recommend NP Dodge to new agents looking to jumpstart their real estate career and to current agents who want to take their business to the next level.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
Back to 93.7 The Ticket special presentation from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Brought to you by Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, and Blair Events. With Nick Sainert and Austin Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in, guys. We are live from Stillwater, Oklahoma, just a little under 30 minutes away from first pitch between Nebraska and the number 3 seed, the Florida Gators, in the Stillwater Regional. Nick Sainert, Austin Norman with you. Once again, want to thank our sponsors, Mullen Motors, Blur Events, and Sandhills Global, for allowing us to come on down here, as well as our other sponsors, Nebraska Corn Board, Members Owned Credit Union, and Aloe Fiber, Landmark Implement, as well as Select Plumbing. So thanks to all of them for their support of Nebraska baseball tournament coverage. as Nebraska, like we just said, a little under 30 minutes away from first pitch between the Huskers and the Gators. I want to thank also the Garage Burgers and Beer for having us out today until 2 p.m. as they've been great to us. It's been a lot of foot traffic. It's been a great crowd on hand, and you can definitely feel that there's a buzz in the air here in Stillwater. There's a couple of things that we still want to talk about. Once again, Nick Sander, Austin Norman with you. And one of those things is the potential pitching plan, because Nebraska going into today's game, right? Obviously, we know that the starters have been good, specifically Brett Sears and Mason McConaughey. But then it's what is behind them, right? Especially in a day like today against an opponent like Florida, or even later in the week, right? Because you have to somewhat plan ahead if you're Will Bolt, and every decision is magnified at this point of the season. What could a potential pitching plan look like? And Austin and I, while we were driving to Stillwater last night, had the conversations of, okay, what if Brett Sears gives you 7? Who do you go to? How much do you concern yourself with facing the lefty hitter of Jack Caglianone? And Austin, I think we kind of somewhere settled where Kyle Perry may be used today.
I think that's fair to say. I think a lot of it depends on matchup as well, right? You don't want to lock Kyle Perry into that lefty specialist role, but if a guy like Jack Caglianone is coming up, you probably see Kyle Perry there. The other case where I think you see Kyle Perry is, let's say that, Brett Sears has done a pretty good job of limiting damage, right? He's never had that blow up inning. Let's say that he's through, 5 2/3 and has given up 3 or 4 runs. Do you try to stretch him into that 6th inning? Or do you go get Kyle Perry at the right spot in the lineup, say, hey, give us some length, get us at least to the 8th inning, if not through the 8th inning. We should be in a pretty good position to turn things over to maybe a higher velocity arm, more of a ground ball pitcher. But the reason I think Kyle Perry could be an X factor for Nebraska is because he's the guy that's been here on this stage before for this team. He's gotten some high leverage outs in the NCAA tournament. So you hope that he is, rested. He's available throughout the weekend when there is a leverage spot, because you think that even if he doesn't have his best stuff, the moment's not going to be too big. He's not going to be missing because he's scared of the moment.
It's really interesting because this goes, while Will Bolt certainly has to, have this, okay, how are you feeling today? Right. Kind of conversation with Kyle Perry, Brett Sears, the entire staff, the entire team, really, to be fair. It's also Will Bolt's got to make this decision for how he feels and sees fit. Because, the perfect comparisons, especially on this stage of the NCAA tournament, Major League Baseball playoffs, right? We've seen it the last couple of years. We saw it with the Rays and Blake Snell. Kevin Cash takes out Blake Snell too early, and Tampa Bay loses the game. Then in the Mets Royals, you have Matt Harvey tell Terry Collins, look, I'm good to stay in. Let's keep me in. And the Royals end up taking advantage of it. That's why decisions, every single one, in addition to every single pitch thrown, is magnified so much, because now Nebraska, and they can say, all right, we got to take it one game at a time, but everybody knows you only have 2 games, right? You only have 2 games assured right now. And if Nebraska doesn't get out on the right foot today, it's a much harder feat to accomplish, right? And Will Bolt said in the press conference yesterday that, one good thing about the 2021 team was that they didn't look at that, trip through the losers bracket as a tall task, right? It wasn't a mountain hill to climb. But at the end of the day, it is, right? And that's just being honest. And this regional can be viewed as stacked, right? It can be viewed as teams that are accustomed to being in the postseason field. And frankly, Nebraska's probably 3rd in experience in this bracket.
Yeah,
and
I think that's fair.
Behind Oklahoma State and Florida, probably ahead of Niagara. Every single decision that Will Bolt and his staff makes today, it might be put under a microscope in the end, but also it's just going to be magnified in the moment.
It absolutely will, because today's game matters. It has to matter, because you've thrown out the stat a couple times this week, and it bears repeating. In the last 4 years, only 3 teams have come out of the losers bracket of having to play the extra game to win a regional. That's 61 out of 64 that get off on the right foot and put themselves in better position. So this is where it comes down to the art versus the science of pitching staff management, because you have to go with the data. You have to play the matchups. You have to find a way to get your best pitchers for the best matchup in the best spot. But at the same time, it's an NCAA regional. Like Will Bolt said yesterday as well, no one is 100% right now across the country, right? It's been a long season. You're probably worn down, physically in some way and definitely mentally. It's been a grind. So maybe a guy doesn't have his best stuff, but he's been one of your best guys all year. It might be on Will Bolt and Rob Childress to say, hey, I know what you said, but we trust you in the situation. We need you to go get us this key out. We need you to get us through this inning here. So you have to balance the feel of it with the kind of, metaphysical gamer sense. Like, just go get us now. This is the biggest stage of your life. You have to find a way to be ready, no matter who you are on that starting rotation or in that bullpen.
This is certainly an instance, though, like where this is why baseball coaches, the head coach, gets the term manager applied to him, right? Because we didn't necessarily see it in the Big Ten tournament last week, because Nebraska, frankly, got such good performances out of their starting guys, and the bullpen took care of business in the last 5 games of the tournament, that Nebraska never needed to worry about situational awareness, really. Like, there was never a situation to where, and of course we're speaking in hypothetical terms right now, but for instance, let's say later on this afternoon in just a little bit, it's the bottom of the 8th inning, Jack Caglianone is up to bat with 2 guys on base and 2 outs. We're going to see them probably go to a lefty and playing the matchups, right? Get that lefty-lefty matchup, or whatever the data tells you in any situation, in any instance. Do they go to a ground ball heavy type of pitcher that maybe stays a little bit low in the zone, especially at a ballpark like O'Brate? It's how much does Nebraska, like you said, Austin, play the data, but then also play what they're confident in? Because that's where a manager, especially on a diamond, has to kind of bounce back and forth and find the happy medium, because I think you need both of those involved to be successful.
I love your example of Kevin Cash and the Rays with Blake Snell in the World Series, right? We know that the Tampa Bay Rays are such a data-driven organization. On the low, so is Nebraska. What they have is not Wake Forest. It might not even be Kansas State. But Nebraska baseball, I would say, is in the upper, quartile of college baseball data. We know they have good facilities. We know that they have, ways to track spin rate and RPMs and how pitches break and mechanics and all that. So we don't hear about it a lot, but I think Nebraska is maybe more data-driven than we give them credit for typically. The problem that some people say from the outside is, well, we don't see those numbers. It's not on the coaching staff to give those numbers away, but it can be used as a crutch by the coaching staff if all they do is rely on the numbers, and those are the end-all, be-all, the final justification. Because I remember having this conversation with multiple people back in that World Series where Blake Snell was taken out. Kevin Cash had done that all year, right? He stayed true to who he was. He didn't make that decision randomly. It wasn't an in-the-moment, heat-of-the-moment thing. It was, the numbers tell us in the long run, this is the best decision. But here's the problem with the long-run justification. That doesn't bear out in one game. You have to manage each game as its own, each regional as its own, right? It's one thing for the data to tell you what works in the long run. So you have to keep that in mind, but you also have to say, what do I think gives us the best chance to win this game right now in this moment?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. And obviously, like I said, being realistic with ourselves, this is a hypothetical scenario and situations. And I think a lot of Husker fans would say, let's just hope that Brett Sears goes 9, right? And if Brett Sears goes 9 innings, then Nebraska baseball is 1-0 today. I think that's a pretty confident feeling there. Brett even talked about it, and we said it earlier in the pregame show. He said it yesterday. Solo shots aren't going to beat you. Maybe they get 1, maybe they get 2. I don't know. I'm not going to put guys on in front of guys that do that. As long as I stay in the zone and we stay stingy, I think we'll be fine. Bolt also said this: we don't do anything different just because it's Florida on the other side. Brett Sears is not going to change his game plan based on who the opponent is. We're not going to change a whole lot overall based on who the opponent is. And I feel like that's just really important for Nebraska, right? Because we saw it last week in the Big Ten tournament. and I know we keep referring back to it, but frankly, that's, the most consistent success, I think, in the last 2 months since the start of April that Nebraska's had against obviously the top tier of talent in the Big Ten Conference. So that's kind of the litmus test, or what we're going to kind of go off of to say, okay, this is how they're performing going into the regional. And and a big part of last week was that you got guys to step up, right? And it was guys outside of Mason McConaughey and Brett Sears. It was Drew Christo giving you 5 or 6, I can't remember which one, really effective innings. And then it was also obviously the Big Ten championship performance from Brockett, but then it was also Will Walsh. Like, Will Walsh has done that in the Big Ten tournament, but you couldn't have expected that going in. And you can say that, like, that's the expectation. If you're a member of the Nebraska baseball team, you're going to say publicly, yeah, you know what? We expected Will Walsh to give us 9, and that's exactly what he gave us. And that's fine and dandy. But in reality, there was a plan that Nebraska didn't have to put into place last weekend. And that's a good thing. But now this weekend, there's a chance that they will eventually have to put a plan in place. And it's who steps up. Is it Kyle Freilich? Is it potentially a Ryan Harahill? Is it a Tucker Timmerman that we saw at the start of the year? How about the Omaha Maverick transfer, Rand Sanders? Do we see him come in and slam the door against 3 righties, whoever Nebraska's facing on whatever day? We don't know. And I think that maybe can provide some uneasiness for Nebraska fans, understandably so. But you just hope that Nebraska can build off of what they did last week, where they had guys that were inconsistent, hadn't performed all season. They actually stepped up in the biggest moments. Well, now you get another test in a bigger moment this weekend.
That's just the thing, is that it's not that Nebraska doesn't have capable pitchers, it has inconsistent pitchers. And that's been the case dating back to, the last 3 years, really. I mean, 2021 is probably the exception to that. It's why Nebraska made it as far as it did. But it's great that Will Walsh gave you the complete game back-to-back years in the Big Ten tournament. No, you don't expect a complete game every time, but why hasn't he stepped into that Sunday starter role? Jackson Brockett didn't make the travel roster ahead of the no-hitter that he pitched, right? It's great that he gave you 8 in the championship game, but again, that's the outlier. The no-hitter is the outlier. He's been a 2-3, maybe 4-inning guy before. Caleb Clark is still on the roster. He's had plenty of opportunities, hasn't stepped into that role. Is he a guy that maybe, goes Cody Frank on us here in a regional, because he's got the talent? It's all there. So the problem with Nebraska isn't necessarily, on the pitching side at least, that it doesn't have talent, because it has guys that have stepped up in big moments before. But we've seen with this program time and time again, Nick, that doesn't always bear out in regionals. If Nebraska wants it changed, if it wants the narrative of, hey, you're just a participant, you're not an active player in a regional, those guys have to prove that their late season breakouts were truly breakouts and not just blips on the radar.
Yeah, and you mentioned these guys have been the 3, 4, 5 inning type of guys this season. That's not a negative title or tag. That's not, like, Nebraska needs those guys, right? Because in the weird instance that McConaughey doesn't have a great outing, or Brett Sears doesn't have his best stuff, and you need somebody to come in and slam the door for 3 innings in relief, like, or frankly on a Sunday or in a second game of a regional final, you are on a bullpen game. Like, you need those guys that can consistently come in and you say, yep, you know what, we're going to give you the ball in the 3rd inning and we're going to take this thing to the 7th. Like, that is what every team needs. Nebraska has had it in the past. They haven't had it most recently in the last couple of years consistently. And that's been a big bugaboo. There's been so much pressure on the starters to go deep into a ball game because the bullpen hasn't been able to have consistent success in coming in. And not even, I think the expectation, you can say it's shutout, right? You can say it's no walks, couple Ks, no runs, most importantly. It doesn't even need to be that. It needs to just be, let's throw strikes, keep the pitch count down, be manageable, be serviceable, do your job as they said that they need to do this weekend, and just get into the 7th inning with a manageable either deficit or a pretty comfortable lead.
This is where I think Nebraska is going to have to maybe get creative sometimes, because I think of a guy like, Shea Shanneman, who was nominally the closer back in his time, but was also, a Saturday guy at one point, was a Sunday guy for a lot of his career. Does Nebraska have a weapon like a Shea Shanneman slider in the bullpen that, let's say it's on Sunday and you're facing elimination and you're up a couple runs, but the base is loaded, 1 out. Can you go get your best pitcher? Maybe on, short rest. Maybe he threw a lot of pitches yesterday, and use your best pitcher in a big spot in the 3rd or 4th inning to get you through, to manage that trouble, and then piece together the rest of the game. Because Nebraska doesn't have, obviously a Spencer Schwellenbach, obviously not a Josh Rader or a healthy Chad Linsman, anyone like that on the roster. But Nebraska hasn't consistently shown they have a Jake Bunt or a Cam Wynn that can throw velocity by guys that have a nice breaking ball, that is a legit go-to out pitch all the time. So that's where, if you don't have a talent advantage or a skill advantage, where the coaching comes into play, you have to find the guy who's going to step up in the moment by putting them in the best position for them to succeed with the pitches that they have in their arsenal.
I think you make a great point on that. And I mean, you and I were having the conversation on the drive down here about Nebraska's had some really good starting pitchers these last couple of years. Like the 1 and 2 guys, you go back to obviously in whatever order, and I don't know if these guys were all paired up together. So just I'm just throwing names out there in kind of a word vomit. But it's the Chance Roach, Jace Kaminska, Emmett Olson, Cade Povich. Now this year with Brett Sears and Mason McConaughey. Nebraska's done a relatively good job under Will Bolt of identifying guys to start on Friday and Saturday. But consistently, it's been struggling to find a consistent Sunday guy. And if you want to make every Sunday a bullpen, that's fine, but they keep on switching it up. Like if you truly want to have a Sunday game be, all right, this guy gives us 3, the reliever gives us 3 or 4, and then we have another 2 guys that we can use in however mix and match we need to go. And obviously those are relative inning lengths and stuff. But they don't have that. It felt like they have a group of guys, and I'm not saying that they didn't have a plan. It was that one Sunday we'd see this guy, and one Sunday they'd give another guy another shot. And this one didn't pitch well last weekend or the last 3 outings for him, so he's not playing or he's not on the travel roster. It just feels like on that Sunday, and the bullpen in general has just been a lot of let's throw it to the wall, see what sticks. And unfortunately, under Will Bolt, not a lot is stuck because Nebraska's avoided the injury bug. Like that's something that we don't talk about a whole lot. Unfortunately, under Darren Erstad, Chad Linsman got hurt. Colby Gomez was hurt. Yeah, sure, you have the Kyle Perry arm injuries, but for the most part, Nebraska has stayed pretty healthy when it comes to bullpen arms. They just haven't found guys to step up.
I think the Sunday struggles and the midweek struggles play together. If you look at Nebraska's records under Will Bolt, there haven't been a lot of sweeps. Even 2021, there were more. Again, but this is the exception that proves the rule. To your point, Nebraska's been really good with the 1-2 punch on Friday and Saturday. Nebraska has won a lot of Big Ten weekend series 2-1, but it's been on the backs of Friday and Saturday, which is fine, which is good. Your Friday night guy is your best. Your Saturday night guy is, kind of the swing game. We'll see if you can wrap the series up early. But Nebraska having to rely on its bullpen so much on Sundays puts it in a worse position for those Tuesday, Wednesday games because you throw so many guys at the wall to see what sticks. So you use a lot of guys. So everyone's, 85% available instead of having, a few guys 0% available and a few guys 100% available. Nebraska either needs to commit to a full bullpen day on Sunday and then rely on a midweek starter on Tuesday and Wednesday to save some of those bullpen arms, or vice versa. Find that guy that you can rely on Sundays that gives you a chance to either salvage a game if things go off the rails Friday, Saturday, win a series if it's split or sweep, but then commit to almost the Creighton approach, right? On midweeks where you just play the matchups, you get looks at guys, you throw guys out there just to see what you have in them, but they haven't picked a side. They haven't committed to either winning Sundays or winning midweeks, and that makes them worse on both of those days.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska certainly has talent, right? And you know, a lot of folks are going to say, well, you're only in year one of Rod Childress as the pitching coach. And that's all valid. And Nebraska's been really good, like we said, on Friday and Saturdays, and it certainly helps. I think in a normal year, Mason McConaughey's probably getting a lot more love. Like, this guy is now 8-3 overall in the season, not really being talked about a whole lot, because guess what? Your Friday night guy is doing his job and may as well worked himself into an MLB opportunity or a minor league opportunity at 9-0 and the Big Ten Pitcher of the Year. And so I think we forget sometimes how good Nebraska's 1-2 punch is, especially for the Big Ten as well. And so credit to the staff for that, right? As we're not trying to make it sound negative or unfortunate, like Nebraska doesn't have a talent in the bullpen. They do. I just sometimes wonder how they manage it, right? Like what's the thought process behind deciding when somebody goes out to pitch? And we'll see that today, because as we said, everything's magnified. And like, you know, we mentioned Tucker Timmerman's name, and, you know, Rand Sanders, and there's a lot of guys that I think you're expecting not all Big Ten production from, just production. And to this point, it's going to make it difficult for Nebraska not to go back into the portal, back to the JUCO ranks, and say, let's figure out a way to kind of really nail down the back end of our bullpen, because we lost a lot of leads this season. There's a lot of missed opportunities, blown opportunities that are left on Nebraska's schedule from 2024 that, in this case, if they don't get swept by Creighton, if they win a couple more midweeks, if maybe they close out on Sunday, Nebraska's a host. Nebraska's a host. And because of the lack of, I don't know, I hate to continue to use the word consistency, but that's the only one, that's the best adjective I think that describes it. Because of that, Nebraska traveled a couple hundred miles south to Stillwater and is facing a team that's made a regional every single year since 2007.
I think consistency is a fine word to use, but does it go back to the players not executing or the coaches for not having, you know, a concrete plan? Because we see, like you said, Nebraska mix and match, trying new things so consistently. One start is not a sample size. Two, you're getting there. Three, maybe. And then after a month, right? The leash is so short for northern teams, for Big Ten teams and further north, just because of the ding that you get for not being in warm weather, not playing as tough a competition, maybe year round. So again, it's kind of like a regional where you have to put value on every game, but you also have to see the big picture and understand that there's probably more importance on winning your conference or having a good showing in your conference in the Big Ten or the Big East than there is in the SEC or the ACC, which is where I'm glad you bring up a guy like Tucker Timmerman. Up and down, to be expected as a freshman. I see a lot of Shea Shannon in him. Wipeout breaking ball, has got that slider that we saw on display in that first weekend. If I'm him, Shea Shannon's the guy I talk to. What was it that you liked about your college experience? What went well for you? What worked well for you? What didn't you do? Or what would you have changed about your experience? Because if Nebraska can get Tucker Timmerman in positions to be successful this weekend, is that a springboard for him to take over as the Sunday guy next year, where you can rely on him for 4 or 5? Or does he become a midweek option? Or even if he's a closer next year, right? With that wipeout breaking ball, he's got strikeout stuff. Everyone's a starter in high school, but Tucker Timmerman, I think, is a guy with enough velocity that can grow into a little more with that devastating slider. I like the idea of Tucker Timmerman, high leverage reliever, Tucker Timmerman, closer. So let's start that now, right?
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth. 93.7 The Ticket.
Put him in position, see if he's got it, and see if that can be a launching pad for next year for him.
I'm really fascinated by the and this is a conversation for a couple of weeks from now, because hopefully Nebraska starts a run here, but I'm really fascinated by the transfer portal approach, right? Nebraska, who decides to move on maybe from Nebraska's program, but also who gets told that it's time to move on. And Nebraska's got a couple of guys to replace, mainly your number one Friday night guy. And how do you fill that void? We saw Brett Sears. We knew he was a starter back in a couple of years ago, had some relief work last year, then gets moved back to being a starter. Do we see something like that again, right? Because now Will Bolt was, and give credit to the staff, right? Because they were able to identify Brett Sears as a guy that is capable of playing on and throwing on Friday nights as their number one guy, and he's done so extremely well and has been productive as you can be for Nebraska. All right, a couple minutes here left in the show. Once again, we are live from the Garage Burgers and Beer down in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Huge thanks to our title sponsors, Mullen Motors, Blur Events, and Sandhills Global. Just a quick plug for those fine folks. Blur Events, the road to the College World Series starts now, and the best party for the College World Series is at the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha from June 14th to June 22nd. Make sure that you get ready for the best tailgating experience that you can find anywhere, and it's just 2 blocks south of Charles Schwab Field in Omaha. You can purchase those tickets at blurevents.com. Mullen Motors, summer is here. Don't settle for road trips in your rundown clunker. Head to Mullen Motors to find your new ride for this year and years to come. Just north of 48th and Layton and Lincoln. And obviously, our good friends over at Sandhills Global, they are hiring. You can find your fit today in their fast-paced growing culture in Lincoln, Nebraska at sandhills.jobs. So thanks to them, thanks to the Nebraska Corn Board, Members Owned Credit Union, Allo Fiber, Landmark Implement, and last but certainly not least, Select Plumbing. All right, Austin, give us your final thoughts as we get ready for first pitch here in a couple of minutes, from Stillwater, Nebraska, Florida. Who's an X factor today, and what's the outcome in your eyes?
Man, first of all, it's exciting to be down here, feel the energy, be it our first regional ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a great bus trip. Supremely thankful for all the sponsors you just rattled off. It does mean the world to us as baseball guys, as fans of the program, as general observers, to be at a regional. So that part's awesome. You love that there's some familiarity with Oklahoma State. We hope we get that matchup at some point. You love that you get a brand name in Florida, because for a program in Nebraska that's looking to take the next step, even if, as we've discussed, it's a good Florida team, not an elite all-time Florida team, if you beat Florida once or even twice, that's a validating step for this program. We saw them beat Vanderbilt not long ago, but that was in an early season tournament. This is the postseason, right, where the SEC says it just means more. So if you can go out and you can beat Florida today, get off on the right foot, put yourself in a good position for the regional, Stillwater's your oyster. It's not going to be a cakewalk through it. It's a launching pad in a great stadium. It's a place that doesn't necessarily play to Nebraska's strengths, but a lot of other teams' strengths. That can be a weakness for Nebraska, or maybe Nebraska has the antidote. Nebraska's got to keep the ball down. Nebraska's got to attack the lower part of the strike zone, because there's so many hitters in this Florida lineup that are dangerous, that have big eyes, that will hunt fastballs, that will hunt hanging breaking balls and do damage with them. It'll be strength on strength. Nebraska's pitching, can it be the antidote to Florida's strong lineup, to Oklahoma State's balanced lineup, and to one of the best hitting teams in the Northeast in Niagara, if that's who Nebraska sees? I'm going to jump on the homer bandwagon. I think Brett Sears continues his unbeaten streak. I think he runs it another game. I think he's really good. I know Florida's seen good pitchers. Not sure they've seen anyone with Brett Sears' stuff, the Big Ten pitcher of the year. Recently, 10 days off. I think they're a little rusty. I'd be more worried about Florida tomorrow. I've got Nebraska in maybe a 7-5, 7-4 type of game.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a pretty intense, I think, environment. I think we might find ourselves, and Husker fans may find themselves in the 6th, 7th inning with Nebraska. It feels like they're clinging on to a lead, a 1 or 2 run lead, because that, okay, with a swing of a bat, Florida can quickly make this a different type of ball game. I think Nebraska's bullpen steps up a little bit today as well. I think the Florida lineup, certainly it can scare you, and I understand why. It feels like that Nebraska is really embracing this down-to-earth, 10 toes down, dig your cleats in, here we go type of mentality. And frankly, that's the Will Bolt mentality that you need to win games in Nebraska and under Will Bolt. So I think we see Nebraska try to cause havoc on the base paths today. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see them try to go maybe a little over aggressive at times. Not necessarily sending guys home, but trying to time up Liam Peterson on the mound, or trying to figure out ways to get to Florida's pitching staff and get them uncomfortable, right? Force that pressure, apply that pressure, be on the attacking side of things, specifically on the base paths, because they have guys in Rhett Stokes, obviously, Caden Brumbaugh, who's feeling pretty good as brand in certain situations. People forget, Will Bolt mentioned it yesterday, that Brumbaugh probably doesn't score on the Gabe Swanson double unless he steals second base, because the outfield was playing no doubles defense while he was at first. Then once Brumbaugh swiped second base, the outfield then had to come in and play more shallow to try to gun him down at the plate. And because of that, Gabe Swanson was able to really clear it over their heads, and Brumbaugh was able to score easily. So that's that evolution of the game that we talk about, I think, Limit. When we talk about X Factor, I actually don't think it's a player. I think it's a mentality, an approach at the plate. I think Nebraska needs to limit mistakes defensively. This is a game where if it feels like if you have, more than 2 errors, it's going to get out of hand, and it feels like it could unravel quick. I think in that situation, you got to throw strikes, as Brett Sears talked about, but then also in the box, man, just go up ready to hit. Like as cliche as that sounds, what's your approach in a 2-0 count? What's your approach in a 3-1 count? And Will Bolt said it yesterday. It's going to be so important for them to swing at the right pitches, because Nebraska, not the most disciplined team when it comes to deciphering balls and strikes in the box. And so that's going to be a big part. Liam Peterson will give some walks away and give some free passes. Allow him to do so, right? But then also when he serves one up, make sure you can attack it the correct way. All right, that is it for us. We are just moments away from Nebraska and Florida here from Stillwater, Oklahoma. We got plenty of coverage and content coming your way throughout the rest of the weekend. I want to thank the folks at the Garage Burgers and Beer down here in Stillwater for having us out until 2 p.m. Thanks to everybody back in our 93.7 The Ticket studios, pushing all the buttons, making sure we sound okay, we get connected, and we're good to go. Thanks to Austin for jumping on as well, hanging out with us down this weekend. Thanks to Charlie Cologne for stopping by earlier as well, the former Husker catcher, providing some insight as he is down here in Stillwater. We got a lot more coming up. Hopefully Nebraska can start 1-0. That'll make that Niagara-Oklahoma State game tonight that's scheduled for 6 p.m. a lot more interesting as well. As if Nebraska can start 1-0, I think a lot of Husker fans would then turn into Niagara fans later on this evening as well. So once again, Nebraska, Florida coming up next. It's on ESPN Plus, so make sure you find that channel. Appreciate you guys joining us. And once again, thanks to all of our sponsors, Mullen Motors, Sandhills Global, Blur Events, the Nebraska Corn Board, Members Owned Credit Union, Allo Fiber, Landmark Implement, and Select Plumbing. Once again, for Austin Norman, Nick Sainert saying so long as Nebraska gets ready to take on the Florida Gators here in Stillwater. This has been 93.7 The Ticket's coverage from Stillwater, Oklahoma in the NCAA baseball tournament. 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
24/7 threat monitoring, expert tech support, streamlined communications. Allo has a solution for that. Protect your business with Allo Business. Comprehensive firewall security, Microsoft Teams voice integrated communication.